You probably have all seen the trailers for the upcoming 6th season of Game of Thrones. In this video, we want to take a closer look at all 7 of them together to get a better idea what might be in store for us when the new season finally arrives. So let's dive right into the action. The first teaser already sets an overall tone for all the following ones. Beginning with a sustained shot of a living Jon Snow, and almost ending with one of him bleeding to death before we see Bran walking eyes wide for a moment, the teaser is centered around death and loss. With Jon's assassination begins a sequence of scenes that all share this aspect. Ned's beheading, Catelyn's death at the Red Wedding, Arya losing her eyesight, Mira fighting in front of Bloodraven's cave, where Jojen is about to die of course, Joffrey choking to death, Robb falling to his knees dying, Jaime losing his hand, Jojen's death, Cersei naked in her cell. However, beginning in between the scene that shows Mira and the one that shows the so-called Purple Wedding, there are also some shots not as clearly concerned with death and loss. A close-up of a blade being forged, the three-eyed crow croaking, Drogon roaring next to Dany, the Harpy statue falling, the Night's King with Craster's baby, Whites bursting through the gates at Hardhome, Littlefinger kissing Sansa, the blade again, the Night's King raising his arms, before we are finally back with Jon Snow. The trailer strangely achieves 2 things at once, underlining the importance of Jon's death, while also convincing even the staunchest skeptics that Jon will not be dead once and for all. He is too important. He is the main character of this show, even more so than Dany. The voiceover even seems to emphasize Jon being dead and gone. It says, "The past is already written. The ink is dry." We don't believe that he's dead, of course. As I already said in another video, Jon still has a role to play, but they want us to take his death seriously anyway. The 3 banner teasers continue the overall tone that the first teaser established, and give it a twist towards devastation. In each video, we see the flying banner of one of 3 of the great houses of Westeros: House Stark, House Lannister, and the exiled House Targaryen. The 3 teasers clearly paint the situations of the 3 houses as parallel. All 3 banners are torn and ragged, and behind them we see the sky and a bit of landscape. The first impression is, all 3 houses are in rough shape. It gets more interesting, however, if we take a closer look at the differences. In many respects, House Lannister is the odd one out here, despite all the parallelisms. House Stark's video shows a dark and desolate landscape in the midst of a thunderstorm, while House Targaryen's shows fire and smoke darkening the sky. The Lannister video, however, shows only a sunset and a city by the sea. There is no devastation to be seen. What the other 2 teasers depict rather directly, devastation and ruin, this one only hints at. The fall of House Lannister is not shown, but the sunset symbolizes a coming end. The sun is setting on House Lannister. The voiceover underlines what we have said and confirms the setting. The Stark teaser is most likely set near the burnt down Winterfell, and the Lannister teaser in King's Landing. Only the location of the Targaryen teaser is relatively vague. We probably see a site burnt down by Dothraki Khalasar. The voices we hear in all 3 teasers are those of the principal enemies, of the moment, I guess. Ramsay Snow, or Bolton if you like, the High Septon, and what is probably Khal Jacko. Ramsay says, directed at Jon Snow obviously, that Winterfell is his now, while Jacko tells Dany that she is queen or Khaleesi of nothing. The Lannister teaser, again, differs the most from the other 2. We hear the shame chants from Cersei's Walk of Shame and the High Septon saying, "Every one of us is poor and powerless, and yet together we can overthrow an empire." All in all, it is abundantly clear that House Lannister is still awaiting the downfall that the other 2 houses have already experienced, each in their own way. Drawing so close a parallel visually as the teasers do seems labored, but gives us an all the more clear idea where this series is going. It will depict the stories of Jon and Dany and the situation in King's Landing, each a struggle of a great house against a single, distinct enemy. This conception differs greatly from the books. In A Song of Ice and Fire, it's not yet clear if Jon will ride for Winterfell at all, and it is certainly not yet clear if he will ever take up the banner of House Stark. The Night's King, arguably Jon's more important enemy, has no place in this teaser. In King's Landing, the situation in A Song of Ice and Fire is more complex too. The most obvious reason being that Varys is there killing people. Dany's storyline ended in a Dance with Dragons before it could become clear how Jaqen is going to treat her, and, of course, Victorian Greyjoy's Iron Fleet is about to reach Meereen. The teaser gives the impression that Dany's storyline will be separate from the action in and around Meereen for a while. The fifth teaser pushes the theme of loss, devastation and death to a new level. After the ruin of 3 great houses, the focus is now on death itself. This teaser takes us to a location that has been neglected in the other teasers: Braavos. We see the Hall of Faces in its dimly lit glory. There are, quite impossibly, the faces of Eddard, Robb and Catelyn Stark, and we hear their voices. Next is Joffrey's face, then again Jon Snow. Finally, Tyrion's face, with other well-known faces of characters who we know are alive at this point around it. Sansa, Dany, Cersei, Arya and Jaime can be clearly identified. Ned and Catelyn talk about death and loss, Robb about defeat, Joffrey about torture. Jon's voice, which continues while we see Tyrion's face and the other faces around his, finally says, "The long night is coming, and the dead come with it." Now we can say that this is really a teaser in every sense of the word. Showing all those characters in the Hall of Faces, that is, showing them dead, is meant to shock, obviously. It emphasizes that every character, no matter how well beloved, is fair game. Nobody is safe. Not even no one, I guess. This is a fair point and true for the source work, but this comes off as somewhat cheap. The Westerosi faces look very much out of place there. It doesn't really work, at least for me, despite the overall great atmosphere. Summing up what we have learned from the 5 early teasers, we can conclude all the more that Jon Snow is the center of everything, and that he will not be gone anytime soon. Jon Snow is the only character to feature importantly in teaser 1 and 5, and he also gets a banner teaser. 3 of these 5 teasers are essentially about him, a character we are supposed to consider dead. The showrunners have also gone out of their way to drive home the theme of death, loss and devastation. They made sure that the audience understands that Game of Thrones does not mess around. As Ramsay Bolton has said on the show, "If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention." As we say in German, das hier ist kein Kindergeburtstag, which means this is no children's birthday party. Brace yourselves. Then there is the trailer proper. How else to kick it off but with our man Jon Snow? We even hear the words, "He's gone." Another attempt at beating a dead horse. The horse won't suddenly live, no more than Jon will stay dead. The next shot is, thank God, the only tiny hint of dawn we are going to get. A ship showing House Martell's coat of arms is about to arrive in King's Landing, obviously carrying Jaime, Bronn, Trystane and the dead Myrcella. So it's death yet again. We see Jaime trying to raise Cersei's spirits, a rather mysterious shot of Davos, then Roose and Ramsay Bolton. A flayed man burning upside down, Bolton style, a despairing Melisandre with Davos again, Jorah and Daario looking for Daenerys, then Dany herself as captive of Dothraki. We see the High Sparrow speaking the same words we already heard in the Lannister banner teaser. Then what's probably a very poor excuse for a king's mood, I guess, Sansa, Tyrion, Drogon. Lancel tells Robert Strong and Cersei to or there will be violence. Cersei answers, "I choose violence." Probably the most intriguing piece of the whole trailer. 6 men drawing weapons, one of them Ned Stark, most likely on their way to the Tower of Joy, Night's Watchmen breaking down a door, King Tommen followed by what looks like Kingsguard, and Cersei followed by Robert Strong, both striding with an expression of determination, somewhat. Charging horses, one white, ships, Arya being slapped hard, Littlefinger eternally smug, Marjorie in her cell, a horseman attacking what's probably a white with fire, Bowman shooting a volley, a window burst in, Theon as a proper noble, Euron being drowned, Cersei and Jaime making out, Brienne fighting, a fire that the woman seems to be watching over, the Hall of Faces, Mel about to show her boobs again, somebody closing Jon's eyes, probably in a funeral ceremony, somebody jumping off a balcony who might be Arya, a Bolton shield wall and their enemies, maybe Yara, who should still be called Asha, making out with a woman, Euron Greyjoy about to step on a bridge during bad weather, probably fighting at the Tower of Joy, Tormund looking afraid fighting Boltons, more fighting with probably Jon Snow in the background, Marjorie on her knees in front of the High Septon, peasants throwing stones probably down murder holes, Arya with white eyes, either blind or walking, or both, troops on the steps of the Great Sept of Baelor lowering their spears, Sansa looking over her shoulder afraid in the woods, Dothraki charging, men charging on foot, Bran in the snow looking around confused until he finds the Night's King right behind him. Finally, Davos drawing Longclaw in a surprise attack over Jon's body, it seems. Again, all starts and ends with Jon Snow. If we take all the shots showing either Jon, Mel or Davos, it becomes pretty clear what's roughly going on here. Some people want to burn Jon's body, so he doesn't become a white, or worse. Davos and Mel, however, disagree. Mel will try to bring him back to life. It seems that the showrunners have finally understood that people not only have stopped to firmly believe that Jon is really gone, but that it has even ceased to be a mystery. While still making a point of milking a couple of boo-hoo Jon's dead tears, they give us all the pieces we need to solve the puzzle. Dawn seems to be the opposite of Jon Snow. While Jon is all over the place, Dawn seems to no longer exist, but for the quick glimpse of the Martell sun. We get no Sand Snakes, no Doran, no Ilaria, no Trystane in any of the trailers. While there might have seemed to be an outside chance for a Quentyn storyline in the future, that ship has sailed together with the one carrying Jaime and Bronn home. Dawn has been a train wreck, or a shipwreck if you will, and the showrunners seem to have understood that by now. Clegane Bowl is either off or postponed, it seems. Or are they just fucking with us? Lancel confronting Robert Strong, aka Undead Gregor Clegane, aka Gregor Stein, makes it unlikely that Sandor Clegane will suddenly show up and fight in Lancel's place. There is very little Tyrion and no Varys in this trailer. Either is interesting, but for different reasons. Tyrion is one of the main characters of the whole story and a fan favorite, but relatively little time is spent on him. From the brief shot we do get, we can retrieve next to no information. What is he doing there? Doesn't look like ruling Meereen so much, does it? What is even going to happen in Meereen with Dany gone and no Iron Fleet anywhere to be seen? This will be one of the biggest mysteries this season, I'd say. Varys, on the other hand, could be anywhere basically. Probably he will murder Kevan Lannister at some point. Here's hoping that we are going to see more of him soon. He's always good for a surprise. The scene with Bran and the Night's King is interesting too. Is this Bran pulling an Aragorn? Making the enemy aware of his presence on purpose? He probably looks a bit confused and afraid for that, I guess. Anyway, it seems pretty clear that Bran is not really standing next to the Night's King, but that this is some kind of warging weirwood internet kind of stuff. Did they feel like they had to make a point of including some faux sexual controversy in there for no good reason? I mean, what was so wrong about Asha in the books that they had to turn her into this Yara? First, Yara seemed rather asexual. Much unlike in the books, she wasn't the sassy warrior girl in earlier seasons. And, of course, they called her Yara instead of Asha. Because fuck 'em, that's why. And they made her call off that rescue mission because Ramsay tore his shirt or something. And now they turn her into a lesbian. Did they think it's funny because her lover in the books is called Carl the Maid? I don't know. Nothing wrong with her being gay, of course, but there is indeed something wrong with the showrunners having no real idea where to go with that character at all. Where will the show be going with the Ironborn anyway? If that was the King's mood, it's pretty damn shabby. Where are Naga's bones? Why so few people there? And what's Euron's plan going to be besides most likely throwing his brother Balon off a bridge? Really hard to tell. Let's hope this is not going to be the new Dorne. Finally, let's not forget the Tower of Joy. This man is not Arthur Dayne. If I am wrong and he is actually Arthur Dayne, I can already sense the shitstorm brewing. No, this must be either Oswald Went, Gerald Hightower, or a random Kingsguard they made up. Also, it seems like Ned's party only consists of 6 men. Is the missing one probably the enigmatic Howland Reed? I think the Tower of Joy scene could really be one to get excited about. Judging from this trailer, the upcoming season at least seems to have all the makings of a better product than Season 5. We can assume that we will get more of what we enjoyed, think Hardhome, and less of what we didn't enjoy so much, think Dorne. Yet, what looks good in a trailer doesn't have to look good in the actual episodes. Let's not forget that D&D are in mostly uncharted territory now. They might get lost on their own. Don't turn this off just now. Last but not least, there's also that new little promo that showed up recently. There is not so much new material there, but some things are definitely worth mentioning. We hear Tyrion's voice elaborating on the Game of Thrones metaphor. He says, "Are you afraid? You should be. You are in the great game now. The great game is terrifying." Then the High Septon says, "We are sinful creatures. We deserve death. We all do." We are obviously back at the all-important topic of death. Finally, Jaqen, or the kindly man if you will, makes sure we really do understand the importance of death. He says, "One way or another the gift will be given. One way or another a face will be added to the hall." The gift here is, of course, the gift of death. What Jaqen says seems to imply that Arya will get a new mission and that she will probably not like it. The pictures, however, don't give any more hints concerning Arya's possible mission. We get a new shot of Ramsay that isn't really that interesting, but we do get interesting new material on other characters. One of them is Tyrion. We see him below Dany's throne with Grey Worm and Missandei, drinking wine, then again with the torch. All pretty mysterious. We also get One breaking down a door like it's nothing, but that must remind us of the books, where One goes ape when Jon is attacked. Will we get a somewhat belated version of that? Will he probably be on Davos' side? I think that could make sense. There is a shot of Brienne attacking and then Theon turning around looking scared. It seems like this is from the same scene. It seems like Brienne will stumble upon Theon and probably also Sansa and save them from what might be Bolton men. We also get more of Jaime. We see him on horseback in front of Tyrell footmen. It might be the same troops that we saw at the Great Sept of Baelor in the trailer. Then there's Drogon flying above Dothraki in probably the most exciting scene of the promo. It seems really tough to judge where this might be going. How can Dothraki hope to keep Dany prisoner against a dragon of Drogon's size? But if they can't, why have that storyline? How much control does Dany have over Drogon at this point? Well, and then there is the Night's King. In the last shot, we see him grab Bran's arm. This seems important, while everybody seems reasonably sure that this is not physically happening as in the trailer. It seems clear enough that we are going to be way ahead of the books in this, or that it will simply be much different. Probably even more mysterious is the Night King's silhouette in front of flames striding towards the audience. Or is he even striding towards the fire? Anyway, he's not running, despite obviously being aware of the huge fire. Will that guy not be as easily defeated by fire as we thought he will? It becomes more and more clear that we will see much more of that guy than we could have imagined last season. Which lends the question if the White Walkers will be simply evil or not new importance. Will we get to know him as a person? Will he be an actual character rather than a personification of evil? It seems we will know many things about the White Walkers pretty soon that we have no idea about concerning the others of the books. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, comment, share, and visit the shit out of our blog.